Sometimes when you're out on the trail, your wagon wheel comes off and ages by about 40 years. Then you gotta wait for a wagon wheel repairman. They take forever to show up. So while you wait, just brew yourself a nice cup of Resistance coffee and have a read from a local author. This one is called Progressive Living. If you tune in tonight, or whenever this video is uploaded, which could be ages, you'll learn something about progressive living. Anyways, join us for Out on the Trail.
You let me know.
Yeah, anytime.
You're already recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me when you're going to record. So stop it. And then start it. Like when I know. So I don't want there to be a long, awkward silence at the first.
Well, you can edit it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to Out on the Trail.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here tonight with Thomas Secord. He's a local author here in town, and does a lot of things. Wears many hats. So yeah, so we invited Tom to talk about his book, his writing, basically his journey. So again, it's Out on the Trail. So we're just kind of looking to see how you found your way to these parts, what brought you here, what inspired you to write, and just kind of whatever comes up.
To get out on the trail.
To get out on the trail.
Well, it was a long trail, I guess. We can start with that. And the journey started a long time ago. And when it comes to the whole progression part of it, that all stemmed from, unfortunately, after rehab. Right, so I ended up in rehab a long time ago. I was in a bad way, and I did a 6-month program in rehab, an in-house program.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, during my in-house program, I also did a 6-month out of house program and a 6-month online program, all within the same 6 months. So I did 18 months of stuff in 6 months.
Wow, that's a lot of inner healing and work. That's got to be a lot of just stuff coming up.
It was.
Yeah.
The first day I ended up going to the facility where I was for the rehab. I remember thinking to myself, it was the best day and the worst day of my life at the same time. Because I got there and I just felt really comfortable. And I thought, that's horrible to think that this is where I have to be. And it was at that time. That's just the way it was. So I decided that if I was going to do this, I was going to put 100% of my efforts into this. And if it worked, that would be fantastic, and I would have a good life afterwards. And if I didn't, I'd probably be dead 6 months after that. And that was just the reality, and I was okay with that either way at that point. So that's where the progression comes after that. I spent a lot of time in the rooms of, various 12-step programs, and I spent years in those afterwards. And the whole time, I kind of paid attention to everything that was going on. And I did a lot of research dealing with the people that were there to see who healed and who didn't, and how they healed, and why the other ones didn't. And came to the pretty obvious conclusion that the only way that anybody truly healed from any of this stuff was through Christ. It was just the way it was. It wasn't even because that's what I wanted, because when I first started out, it wasn't what I wanted at all, but it just happened to be the truth, and that's all there is to it.
So with those 12-step programs, in your experience, I know that there's a lot of people that will share that you can believe in anything, any higher power, anything that's beyond yourself. So you think that the recovery rate for people that are not choosing a Christian path would be lower than the people that do?
Absolutely.
Almost, why do you think
almost
that is?
Non-existent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and that's just what I've seen. And I've seen,
Okay.
like I said, I've been to thousands of meetings.
Yeah.
So I've observed a lot of people. I've heard a lot of testimonies, a lot of stories. Why it is? Well, obviously Jesus is the only one that can change you. You can believe in a chair if you want, but that's not going to change you.
Do people really
People
use
say
a chair as
people say that in the meetings all the time.
Is there anybody that seriously would say the chair is a...
Probably.
Wow.
And they're never going to recover. That's just
right.
the way it is.
And that's sad.
Right? It
Yeah.
is. And, you know, if you think back to like the first AA meetings with Bill W. that started them all, it was a very, very Christian program back then. And they had a really good success rate, right? They did. They were probably up around 75-80% back then. But nowadays, you're looking 3 to 5% recovery rate, which is horrible.
That's not good.
Because everything's changed, right? Everything's watered down now. They took away the Christianity and just put in spirituality, which, as you know, for me, I'm all about spirituality too. I love that. But it's just not enough. It has to be based in Christ, because that's the only thing that I've seen work. And
well, there's now agnostic meetings, and I'm like, I'm not even sure how that works. It's like that's believing in nothing, I guess. So.
You know, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. You know, people can try all the other ways, but they've just never ever worked, right? And so, I guess for me, afterwards, after viewing all this stuff and that, when I finally decided to put together a recovery course, which is where it all started, I made the decision to do the progressive recovery, and the progression is actually starting out as a non-believer, and you're working your way up to being a believer in Christ. Because that's what works. And I've always found in the, you know, when people are new to recovery, they do not want Christ, right? You don't want to hear that. 90% of people don't. You're usually angry, and that's the last thing you want.
Right.
I know for myself, I was like that too. I didn't really want that at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I had a great pastor at the time, became a good friend of mine, and he always said, "Oh, you need Jesus." And I think, well, I don't want Jesus. Kind of want to drink. But
Right. So yeah, kind of putting that together must be really challenging for people coming in that are, you know, they've been using yesterday and they're coming in and that's the solution to their problems is Jesus. And it's like, and a lot of these people have been coming in, you know, being burned by the church and resentful towards any
absolutely, resentful towards everything, towards authority, towards spiritual. Like I said, a lot of them were hurt in churches, unfortunately. You know, a lot of them had, you know, tough upbringings in a Christian home, right? So there's a lot of animosity towards Jesus, right? And so you don't, you know, when you're all messed up, you know, physically and spiritually, you don't really have the means to deal with that yet, right? So you have to start out really slow, and you have to really learn to open yourself up to those other options. And like I said, it's the only option that works, right? That's just what I've seen. I've seen it hundreds of times. I've seen people that have been in the programs for 20, 30 years, and they are just horrible, angry people. Right? But they're sober, right? You know, they're not drinking, so, they're great. And it's like, well, to me, when I was watching that, I was like, that's not recovery at all. What is that, right?
Yeah.
That's just being dry and angry, and abstinence in itself is not recovery, right? There has to be a lot more to it. You have to change who you are. Right? And the only way you can do that, like I said, you have to have a spiritual awakening in that, and which, you know, obviously they always say that in the program. So you have to have spiritual awakening, but it's more than that. You have to have that spiritual awakening into Jesus, right? It's just the only thing that works that way. So that's where the whole progression part came. Was that, and that program that I developed, it worked really, really well. As a counselor and stuff, I dealt with a lot of people with it, and everybody that's stuck through it the whole time has always come out well.
So the program is the 2 books, or is there a third?
Just the recovery.
Just the 2. Oh, okay.
The recovery is the program.
Okay.
Living is just for people that didn't have to go through all the substance abuse parts.
Right, so this could apply to anyone just wanting to live a more spiritual path.
That came after this.
I see.
After this, and I got thinking, well, you know, everybody needs to do this progression, even though not everybody has to have it geared towards addictions and things like that. So that's when I came up with the progressive living part.
I did have my own copy of this, and I wanted to read through and kind of look at the work myself, and I ended up I ended up giving it away to a drifter. We
Well,
had a
that's
drifter
good.
come in one day, and he was saying that like he had a history of addictions, and he was really struggling. And I just felt like I felt really led to just give him my book. So I honestly didn't get a chance to go through this.
That's a great thing. That's what it's all about.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Just kind of.
You know, you don't do these things like I didn't write it. Well, I wrote it a lot for myself, but you know, it's to give away, and that's why you know even when I sell it, it's dirt cheap because it's not about that. It's about people getting the help that they need and moving on.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I was really surprised because I remember you telling me about this book, and when I looked it up on Amazon, we now sell them at the Frontier Trading Post here in Tompkins, but you can get them on Amazon as well. And yeah, it's $12, and like that's tax included and everything. And yeah, I think it was around the same price on Amazon. It's very affordable because I expected to spend $20-$25 at least on on a new book, which is the price of the Progressive Living, which is just a normal book price. Yeah. And then this one is so cheap, and I was like, why? Again, like, and it's a workbook, which makes it really valuable, right? Yeah. So. Yeah.
But for me, I guess it's more because that's what people need more. When you need that, you need it, and you don't have a lot of money usually. Usually, you're in a really bad, tight spot. So, make it as cheap as possible, and you can get the ebook. I think it's like $6-7, right?
Oh wow!
So even cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you recommend that people would need to go through this with a sponsor or with a coach or a counselor or something like that?
It's always good, if you have a counselor or, like I said, a sponsor and stuff, it's fantastic because I do lay it out so there's questions in there. There's very few questions, and that's made like that for a reason. It's because we want you to look at it as a more in-depth answer, right? Not just a quick one-sentence thing. Really search inside yourself.
So do you personally do any life coaching around?
I did, yes. I did a lot of counseling. I was a psychotherapist for years. I was a certified life coach.
Oh, wow.
Certified marriage counselor and certified addictions counselor.
So now that you're kind of re-releasing these books, because you wrote them
a long time ago. Yes.
Okay. So now that they're republished again, is that something that you're looking to kind of
I think
be open to?
Like pick back up on it and expand it more because now we have another 20 years experience in these things,
right?
And I can really see how it's worked for myself as well, right? How I continue to progress every day. I try to a little bit, right? It's not always leaps and bounds, and that's where people get hung up. A lot of people think that you have to have these big, massive transitions every day, and that's not what daily progression is about. Daily progression is about just doing little things, right? You change one little habit a day, it's great, even if you're only working towards that one little habit. As long as you're thinking more positively, you're going to be a better person, right? In time.
Yeah. So yeah, I meant to get through I meant to do a little bit more reading on progressive living today, and it was one of those days, and I left it to the last minute because I'm a bit of a procrastinator, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit down and just really dig into this book today. And it was one of those days that there was just people coming through the door all day, and finally Kai comes in just before 5 o'clock with supper, and I just closed it, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'm not meant to know what's in here, because Tom, then I'll know, and then I'll have I won't ask the right questions, so it's good, and I'm sure I'll get to it at some point. We're not crazy busy, but so maybe you'd like to kind of...
Well, the whole point is to change the mindset, right? It's not just about, the actual contents per chapter and stuff like that. It's an overall feel, and the overall feel is to change how you think about things. And the biggest point that I really push in there is that every little decision that we make makes a huge change in our life, right? It sounds simple. So many times we have mundane decisions that we have to make all the time, and you don't think much about them. But if you really think about it, you can see where it's going to lead to another decision and another decision, another decision. One of the stories, I put a little story in there, is about ice cream. Kid wants to go for ice cream, right? Such a simple little thing, you think, right? You think, oh, it's a yes or no decision.
Your kid or your husband, if it's
anybody, or if it's me.
There you go. Big kids.
Yeah. But that decision changes everything. We think of it as just a yes or no.
Yeah.
But it's not. If you say yes, well, that's great. The kid goes and you're happy. If you say no, well, then you have to realize that you're saying no means that child is going to be angry, frustrated, act out. They're going to do this, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to take away from whatever you were doing at the time. It's going to have a whole lot of repercussions, right? And if you say yes, even that's going to have a lot of repercussions. So you have to really think, is it worth it to say yes? Because if you say yes, then later on that might lead to the child that's needy and gets everything they want, and then they end up with problems years down the road. So these are the things I like to get people to think about, and think every little decision means so much more than that particular moment in time. Everything leads to something else.
Right. But do you think there's a potential with that to overthinking? Because when you say
There
every
is.
decision, and I'm like, oh, now I got to be more careful with every decision I make, and then that leads to maybe
Sometimes.
people not making a decision, right? Like when it comes to the bigger things. So for yourself, for example,
Absolutely.
going into rehab, that's a huge life decision. So
It was,
if you're really thinking about that and you're like, well, maybe I can do it this way, those little, decisions can, they can be life altering, life changing, or
Very much so, yeah.
life ending in
yeah.
some circumstances.
Very much so. And you don't want to just jump into all these decisions,
Mhm.
right? Like you said, you can overthink things. And, I guess to kind of adapt to that and to counter that is you can still make decisions on the fly.
Mhm.
But then when the consequences come, whichever they
Right.
are, good or bad, maybe step back and take a second to think about why. And then you can go from there.
Right.
Okay, this is why
Yeah.
that happened. So you don't have to overthink every single thing that you do.
Mhm.
So that would be a big part of it. Is, like I said, really paying attention to what we do and realizing that all the consequences that we have are our own. They're our own making. Whether we like to admit it or not, they are. And I know a lot of people, most people, don't like to admit that. Right? People nowadays want to blame everything else. Right? They want to blame everybody around them, blame all their circumstances on everybody else. And it's just not true. At the end of the day, you're the one who makes the decisions.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the gist of it.
That's the gist of it. Okay. So, what decisions brought you from the time that you get out of rehab, you're going to all these meetings, you're listening to people, you're figuring things out as far as what's working in recovery and what's not, and where did that trail take you from there? From the time that you discovered that to writing to where you are today, how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, I guess from there, what happened, I was living in Dartmouth at the time, and then through a church event, it's a long story, we're not going to get into the story. Through a church event, I ended up meeting my wife, right? That's where I met Melissa.
Okay.
And so I ended up moving from Dartmouth to Kentville in the Valley there in Nova Scotia. And then things changed again because Melissa came with a 16-year-old daughter.
You met Melissa at church? I would never have guessed that.
What? No, that's what I said. We're not going to get into that. It wasn't actually at church.
Okay. All right.
I was there for a church event.
Gotcha. All right. Moving on.
Yeah. So that came with Courtney. And Courtney was just this 16-year-old bundle of just anger at the time, unfortunately, right? She had a lot of tough things that she had to do growing up and went through a lot. And that's just the way it was. So when I met her, that changed my whole outlook on things again, right? On life. Because then it was like, well, now I have this kid that I have to deal with.
Right, because you don't have children.
I have no
Okay.
children of my own, but obviously I consider Courtney my child,
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
And I did
Fair.
right from the get-go.
Okay.
So
That's good.
that came with a whole lot of big learning curve, I guess, right, for both of us. And it was good because that just really reinforced the whole progression theory of mine. Because now I had to start from scratch on something new, right? Building a family unit. And that's a big progression to do that properly, right? And so that was years and years of, trial and error. And, we had some fights along the way, like everybody does. And we also had a lot of good times. And at the end of it, we have a lot of mutual respect for each other. And that's what means everything, right? So that's where the stepping up ended up coming out of. And that was a long time putting that together because I didn't know anything at the beginning. Right? So you couldn't do it until after, I think, we found success as a family. So now I could say, yes, okay, this worked, and this is what worked, and this is what didn't work, and this is why, and everything like that. So.
And it's one thing to become a step parent when a child is small, or even 8-9 years old. Very different scenario.
Yeah, when you come in
when
and they're
it's
just
a teenager with
anger.
some yeah. So.
Yeah, but she turned out great afterwards, right? Like she's really come a long way and done a lot with her life, and proud of her and stuff.
Great.
So, but like I said, we built a good family. We have a very strong family. I give that. Like there's a lot of love in the family, a lot of respect between all three of us. So, and even when we got married, I incorporated that into, because I wrote the wedding ceremony.
Oh.
Because I was doing wedding ceremonies
you wrote your
back
own
then.
ceremony?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was doing them back then, right? I was officiating a lot of weddings and stuff. So I wrote ours, and that way I could control it. But I specifically wrote in there a bit about Courtney and how when we were getting married, she was coming into the marriage as well. She was a part of it, not in a weird kind of way, but in the proper kind of way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that developed into, and now we're going into a new stage of life, and I'm sure I'll come up with more things too, and see how the progression is going to go as I get old, and that's a whole different progression altogether. So.
Right. So recently you've taken a step back from work and your career, and I mean you're still doing some work, but to focus more on your writing.
Absolutely.
And kind of focus on
and get back to my spirituality and stuff too. This whole year has been it's been a great year, but a tough year, but it's been really good for the spiritual side of things. I've really gotten back to who I used to be, 25 years ago and stuff, when I was, fresh out of rehab and fresh into the new world and all good things coming up. And then you got to working and spending, 12 years as a truck driver. It really kicks the crap out of you spiritually. It really did. It did for me anyway.
Yeah.
Not for everybody. There's a lot of great Christian truck drivers out there, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's a hard gig when you're in the oil field and stuff to kind of step away from that. You kind of, there's so much influence and stuff that it just makes it hard on you spiritually. I had a great time, don't get me wrong, it was good, and I met a lot of fantastic people, and I think I brought a lot to the people that I met spiritually and stuff, because but I had to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't always the way that I was 100% comfortable with, but it was the way that I developed into. And if that's where your ministry led, then that's where it is.
Right. Yep. So. Anything can be a ministry, that's for sure. So you went from doing some counseling work and just some different things like coaching and whatnot, and went into the trucking industry. Like, how did that happen? Because it just seems very big shift.
It was a big shift, and that only happened because I moved out here up to the trail. When we left Nova Scotia, I was working at one time at a processing plant back there, a meat processing plant, and that shut down. So I had a year of just doing nothing, and I just worked on pastoring and stuff too. Did a lot of work for the church back then, right? Because I had the extra time.
So you're ordained as well.
Yeah, I was ordained in 2007.
Okay.
So it's been a while for that too. So.
Oh, so that's something else that you've been picking up again.
Recently. Coming back into that. Like I said, everything's coming full circle. I guess you just needed some time to develop in different areas and see different things. And again, the whole trucking thing, it was just to pay bills. Unfortunately, even counseling back in Nova Scotia, I couldn't make near the money you can make out here doing like a really easy job. Right? It was really easy. My job was fantastic. But the money was there, but the spiritual wasn't, right? That took a back seat, and that hurt. So this year I finally get back to that and start doing more ministry work, and we're going to see where this goes and develops into.
That's
Because
awesome.
I didn't know, I was kind of scared, but whatever. This is where I am. I guess this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Right? We have to trust. We have to have faith in that, and that's not always easy when life is kicking you. Right?
Right.
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 Said it's easy to have faith when things are going great, but it's not easy to have faith when things are really tough. But that's good. That's what builds the character.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, we'll see where this develops and see where this goes. But and the whole progression theory, again, you can relate it to being on the trail. Everything in life is a progression. Everything. Like I try and focus more on your progression of your mind and progression of the soul, but everything's a progression, and you're never going to stop that. Life progresses, right? The earth progresses. It always has. The human race is always going to progress, whether it's good or bad, right? You're going to progress in your own personal lives, no matter how it turns out, right? You can have good progression, you can have bad progression, but you're not going to stop it, right? It's always going to be there. So the trick is to try and find a way to control it, right? So because everything's going to, our little town is still progressing, right?
It is, whether they want it or not.
Exactly. Like it had a high point for a while, and then it's went down, which again, even a de-escalation is a progression, just not in the proper way.
Yeah.
So it progressed downwards, got to a certain point, and now it's coming back up, and it's coming back up in a different way this time. And it's always going to be that way. That progression is always going to be there, right? Whether we want it or not, it's always going to be there. So why not embrace it and try and be part of that change, right? And I think that's a lot of what's going on now in the town, right? You guys in that too, is trying to push this new progression however we want it to turn out.
Right. And you have a lot of involvement in different things in the community yourself.
I try to.
Yeah.
I try to.
Yeah, it's from what I've heard, it used to be quite the place, like back in the 70s maybe.
Yeah, at one point there was like 400 people here, population.
400. Okay. And now there's
152.
152.
152 for as of the last poll there.
Okay, maybe when Kai
There's
and I
probably a
moved to
few more
town, we
now.
bumped up
Yeah.
the numbers.
Yeah, we're still going to be under 160, but yeah, it's pretty small, but it's nice, right? I like the small town, and I grew up in the city. I grew up in St. Catharines. We had 130,000 people back when I was a kid.
Right.
So that's all I knew. To me, and growing up in St. Catharines, to me that wasn't a big city by any means, right? That was a small city.
Because it wasn't Toronto.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of my time in Toronto and Niagara Falls and stuff. So even though Niagara Falls had less population, it was way more in the summer.
Yeah.
But to me, 130,000 people wasn't really a big deal. And then I moved to Nova Scotia, and it was much smaller, right? Even Halifax, Dartmouth was combined. They might have been geographically probably the same size, maybe, as what I grew up in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big deal. And then I moved to the valley, and it's like hillbillies. There's nothing there. It's a lot smaller. And even then, I can't even remember what the population would have been then.
Hillbillies, isn't that wine country down there?
It is now. Yeah.
It wasn't back then?
It wasn't back
No?
in the time. No. And then we moved to Grand Prairie, and that was like 50,000 people.
How was that?
That was horrible. That was. There's no other way to put it. And I'd like to say sorry to Grand Prairie, but I'm really not. It was a horrible place. I didn't like it at all.
What's so bad about Grand Prairie? I hear horrible things. I've never been to Grand Prairie, but people are always bashing Grand Prairie.
I know. It had a lot to offer, but I think the biggest thing is so busy, and it's a young oil field town.
Okay.
And so like it's just filled with money and testosterone, and just everything is go, go, go.
Okay.
And that's that's great if you're in your early 20s, right? I wasn't in my early 20s.
Right.
I was 40 when I moved there. So I didn't want that anymore, right? And coming from a smaller town, again, like Kentville and that, although it wasn't as big of a town as I was used to, it was still bigger, and I just didn't want that lifestyle anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there is quite a drug culture in Grand Prairie.
there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
But honestly, that's everywhere, right? If you want it, you can find it anywhere, right? So it doesn't matter where you are. The drug culture, like like the alcohol culture, is everywhere. If you really want to find it, it's not hard to find.
No.
Right.
No.
So you don't have to go far, even from Tompkins. You don't have to go far if you want to find something. Right.
It's true. I was talking to someone here yesterday at the store, and they were talking about how they're putting a cannabis store in Gull Lake, which is just one town over. And they were talking about how there were people organizing to like kind of protest against that, and because they didn't want a drug culture moving into their small town. And do you think that's really something that people in these towns can control, or like, do you think those kind of things matter?
No, I don't think they matter at all. The people that want that stuff, those drugs and that, they're already doing them, right? Making it legal isn't really going to change a whole lot, because a lot of them honestly aren't going to go to the legal store because it's too expensive. They're probably still going to go to their dealer. It's probably going to be cheaper, right? But all you're doing is opening it up to people that aren't, let's say, drug users all the time, but maybe they do want to try it for their health reasons and stuff, because obviously it does have health benefits. We can't argue that. So I don't think it's going to change a whole lot that way. And I think there's 2 stores opening up in Gull Lake.
Oh, is it 2?
I think.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know, there's supposed to be 2 of them, and that's only 1,000 people in Gull Lake.
It's pretty tiny.
That's a lot to open up. I wouldn't think that you would need that, but
just down the trail.
It
is.
So
15 minutes down the trail there.
Yeah, I don't know. Eventually, every small town's probably going to have them. I don't think we're going to get one here for any time soon, but
we don't have too much here.
No.
We do have the Lucky Loon Saloon. That's still called Woody's Tavern for no apparent reason. But it's also an interesting place to go to understand the people here and the culture. It's very different. I know when we came here, just even people sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
That really weirded me out when I first came here, because Tom owned the store that the Frontier Trading Post is in prior to. He's done so many things that we'd have to do many podcasts to touch on all of them. But and I remember the first time I came here before they decided to sell, to kind of pursue some different things, which again we probably would need to talk on another podcast about all the projects him and his wife have going on right now. But I thought it was really strange that just you would come into the store and you would sit at the table with people you didn't know, and the bar is the same. And even in Alberta, I just find I came from Medicine Hat, and that's just not the culture. I've never seen a culture quite like this, because in today's society, it's always how do people meet people.
Yes.
And it's because it's very lonely. If you go to a coffee shop, you're sitting alone, or you're sitting with the person you came with. We just aren't really set up in this society to meet people unless it's on social media.
No, exactly, right? And then you become socially awkward, because all people know is the phone, and they only know how to talk through text and that, and they don't have that human interaction. And I was the same way when we moved here, which was just a fluke how we got here, but when we moved here, and like I said, you go to the bar to get something to eat, and everybody sits at the same table.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're 80 or if you're 22. Everybody sat there.
But and
everybody got along. It was great, but it was bizarre. Right? At first, right? It's fantastic culture. Yeah. But at first, the first time I was there, I saw that. I was like, what? This is so weird. Who wants to sit with like an 80-year-old and all these young kids? And they all loved it, right? Everybody talked. It's not like they even sat at different spots and didn't communicate. Yeah. They all talked to each other. And it was really good, because you get to hear some great stories from those guys.
Yeah,
the old 80-year-old guys. They've been around, and they've seen some stuff around this town.
Absolutely.
So it's a great culture, and that's what kept us here, I think. Because we just came with a trial in mind. We rented for a year and see how it was going to work out. And within that year, we decided to buy the house up the hill and stuff, because we just loved it, right?
But how did the trail bring you here? So did you just
after Grand Prairie?
Put your finger on a map and just say Tompkins, Saskatchewan, a town of 150 people, 152.
Yeah. What happened was I was in Grand Prairie, and again I hated it, and so I finally just snapped one day. I got so fed up, because I can be pretty impulsive sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I called my wife up and said, we got to move. Let's move to Saskatchewan. Find us somewhere to live.
What did she say?
She's like, okay, I'll get on the computer. I'll see what I can find.
Okay.
And then I called my boss right after.
I like that she had no questions.
No, I called my boss. I said, I'm moving to Saskatchewan. Do you have work for me there, or am I quitting? And
Wow,
he's like,
that's bold.
give me 5 minutes. Right? So
Okay.
he called me back in 5 minutes, and they said, yep, they got work for you in Saskatchewan. Don't worry about it. I said, perfect. That was a lot easier than having to quit and start somewhere else.
Right, right.
And then Melissa called me back, and she said, hey, do you want to move to Tompkins? And like everybody, I said, where the hell is Tompkins? Right? Nobody knows.
No.
So we looked it up on the computer, and we kind of did the Google Maps and go around, and it's like, oh, it looks like a cute little town. So we found the place to rent, and we rented it, and that was it.
That's so random.
Yeah, it was absolutely random how we ended up here.
And that was, what was that, 9 years ago?
10 years ago now.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So what was rent here 10 years ago?
Oh, what did we pay? I'm gonna say it was under $500 a month for sure for the house.
Imagine that.
Right.
That's
Yeah. And we
pretty
ended
affordable.
up buying our house, which was it was half flipped.
Okay,
The guy
yeah.
we bought it off of was gonna flip it, so it was half done, and we got it for $20,000.
Wow.
Right. And again, like it needed a lot of work because it was only half done, but
Still.
you know, still at that price,
Can't
it was
get much
great.
for that.
But there was nothing. It was a house, and it was just grass. And you've seen our yard now. Like there was nothing. There was no driveway. There was no nothing. It was just grass.
Your wife is really good at finding those kind of deals, though.
Yes,
Like,
she is
Really
I give her that.
talented at seeking that kind of.
Yeah, it's great. I can give her
Properties
any
and stuff.
task, and she can get right on the computer, and she'll find
Yeah,
anything,
yeah,
anything
she-
I want. Right?
Yeah.
She's really, really good at that.
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, she does obviously a lot of real estate stuff around here too. Just helping people find out and doing the paperwork.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's
we've
huge.
bought and sold a few houses here, so
Yeah.
she's gotten really good at doing the paperwork, which is fantastic for anybody that wants to move.
Right.
Right. So I put her on it.
So one of the properties you bought here in town was a burned house.
We
How did that happen? How
That-
does one acquire a burned house?
That happened because I was on council at the time.
Okay.
Right? And the house was there, and we were talking about knocking it down. And, you know, the town doesn't have a lot of money, so it would have cost $2,500 to $2,800 or something to knock it down. And I said, well, that's just it's too much, right? We can't do it.
Yeah.
So we decided to put it up for tender, and I
Mhm.
said, well, put in mine, $127.50, I think, is what I paid. $127.25 or something like that.
$127.
Yeah, and 25 cents. It was a great random number,
All right. Weird.
but it was. I only bought it to save it.
Yeah.
To save the town the $2,500-$2,800 because
Right.
we didn't have it to knock it down.
Right. Right.
So we had that, and then we put a bunch of money into it, probably too much, and then we ended up selling it anyway. So,
Okay.
but at least
Yeah.
it saved it, and it saved the town from having to pay for it. So
Remember the paperwork.
that was my justification on it.
Yeah.
Was just to save it from the town having to do it.
Yeah.
Trying to save the town some money where you can. You
That's
have
good.
to in a small town because we just don't have the population to have a bunch of money. So, which makes
Yeah.
it difficult because, obviously a town would like to do a lot of stuff, but you just can't.
So how do you think that a town like Tompkins can attract a younger population and to be able to kind of grow again and to work towards what it once was?
Yeah.
You know, what it was like back in the 70s that the old folks tell us about all the time. Like,
Yeah.
how do you get there? How, like, where do you even
For sure.
start?
Well, I think we've already started, right? We've
Yeah.
attracted, like you guys and a lot of other younger couples.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something that people like. Obviously, the biggest attraction right now is the fact that, the housing is still cheap, still relatively cheap, and you can have a decent life. And we're not too far if people wanted to still have your mainstream job in Swift-Current or something, right?
Yeah.
You're only 45 minutes, or Maple Creek, you're
So, like,
half
when
an
we're
hour.
talking cheap, just for the people that are going to watch, how cheap are we talking about?
I don't know, houses now you can get anywhere probably between 45 and 100,000. right? Depending on what you want in town. So that can be pretty cheap. Some of them you can be a little bit more, but they're ones that are
Right.
like, if you were to pay say 150,000 in town, you would be getting a house that in Medicine Hat would be 250.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
the value is here. So you don't have to have 35, 50-year mortgage, because nowadays you can finance for like 50 years. It's insane.
That's crazy.
Like, who wants to pay for
Yeah.
50 years?
On a house.
My
Yeah.
nerves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big attraction.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the attraction now also is the fact that just the younger generation has changed,
Mhm.
and they want to work more from home. They want to have a better home life and not have that hustle and bustle that you have in the city. People want to focus more on themselves and family and spirituality and things, and not just the grind, because especially after COVID, it showed so many people that what you're working for wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Right? You lost out on so much when people started being home for a couple of years. Like, yeah, this is way better. This is what we should be doing.
Right.
We should find a way to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that
Absolutely.
shift itself in the generations is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. So were these towns where you can get property so cheap, and there's multiples in this area, kind of as you go down south towards the border? Would you say it's fair to say there's a housing crisis in Canada, or would you say it's a location issue?
Yeah.
It's that people kind of generally still want to be in those larger centers,
Exactly.
and that's where they want to be able to get housing.
For
and
sure. Like,
things
there's
that.
housing available.
Yeah.
It's a matter of what kind of lifestyle you want.
Right.
Right? Not everybody wants to live in a $40,000 house either. Right? Because honestly, you're still going to get what you pay for $40,000, let's say. Right? It's not going to be, your top notch, all brand new finishings and things like that.
Yeah.
It's a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
So you have to have people that are attracted to the lifestyle
Right.
and not just the housing market per se.
Yeah.
So
And that lifestyle of just having more time, like for
Yeah,
yourself,
for yourself.
essentially, because you're working less.
yes.
There's less like big opportunities, because that was one of the things that I realized when I came out here, is that it was going to look different.
Yes.
It wasn't going to be the 9 to 5 office
No.
government kind of work that maybe I did in the past.
Yeah.
It's
No, it's a
gonna
whole
look,
different
and you got to
lifestyle.
kind of create your own opportunities, and that's
It is, which is challenging in itself, especially in a small town, because you don't have the population to really have the extra money to throw around to build businesses.
right.
But, at the same time, you have less to put into it. You have more time for yourself. You don't have to do these crazy hours of working, 18 hours a day or whatever. So it all works out. And like I said, when you come back to the housing crisis, I don't think there's a housing crisis. I think it's just a matter of mindset, right? Do we have enough young people now that want to go back to this type of mindset, right? Get back on the trail?
Yeah.
Or are the young people still going to flock to the cities?
Right.
Some of them will,
Yeah.
right? Some people love it. And, they love the fact that they can live in a city and not have to have a car and be part of their 15-minute jail, I guess.
15-minute jails.
Whatever they want to call them.
Yeah.
Oh, they call them 15-minute cities.
15-minute
That's
cities.
Whatever.
What are your thoughts about the 15-minute cities?
15-minute jails?
Yeah. 15-minute
They're horrible.
jails.
They're horrible. Who would want that, right?
Yeah, there's people that do, though.
Yeah, it sounds nice on paper. Everything's convenient, right?
Yeah.
Everything's within 15 minutes. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Until they say, well, you can't go anywhere outside of that 15 minutes,
Right.
which is going to happen.
Right.
And we know that.
Yeah.
But, that's what I said. It's like a 15-minute jail, but, it sounds
Prisons
nice.
also have,
Yeah.
cafeterias.
Yeah.
And,
They get out more than
whatnot.
15 minutes.
yeah.
And Edmonton's one, right, where my daughter is. It's horrible. I hate it. I don't like going there.
Okay, just to clarify, his daughter's not in jail in Edmonton.
No.
It kind of sounded like that for him.
No.
Not yet, anyways.
Not yet. No. When they do the final lockdown,
Yeah.
then yeah. But right now it's just Edmonton, and that's just the way it is. But I don't agree with them at all. I said it sounds great on paper, and it's easy to sell that to people.
Well, it's being sold as convenience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. and sustainability,
Mhm.
right? That's what they sell everything as. Everything's
Mhm.
sustainability. Is no, it's not.
Yeah, until
Right.
it's surveillance and you can't leave your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, they're gonna happen. There's not much we can do except try and stay away from them, right?
Yeah.
You know,
You're pretty far from a 15.
Tompkins is a 15-minute city.
It
You
is.
have no choice. It's 15-minute city if you go around it twice.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. It's just definitely a different way of life.
It is,
Yeah.
right? You know, and how can you not want it? Like, we have everything you need here at Tompkins. Everything, right? You have a golf course. You have, you know, your bank. You have, you know, the skating rink.
Mhm.
You have somewhere to eat, somewhere to get something to drink. You have the gas station. We have everything you need already, right? We have your coffee shop and gift shop and everything. So there's really nothing that we don't have access to, right? And yes, it's not somewhere where you can spend 100% of your money here. It obviously makes sense to go do some things in the bigger towns, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, there's nothing that you can't get here, right?
Right.
Which is great. And like I said, you got a golf course.
Absolutely.
You can drive around on your golf cart all day and then go there.
So what's the deal with that here?
It's
like,
all
how
legal.
did that?
It's all legal
totally
here.
legal to have your golf cart. Do you have
Yeah.
to like?
It has to be insured, right?
Okay.
Because this was SGI that came up with this. This
Okay.
wasn't like a Tompkins thing.
Oh,
This
I
is
thought it
all
had
around-
something to do with council.
No, this is all
Okay.
around. Well, council has to approve it,
Okay.
right? But
Okay.
SGI is the one that actually came up with it and approved
Okay.
it. So it's approved in a lot of places, like even Swift Current and stuff.
You can drive a golf cart
In
around
certain
Swift
places, yeah,
Current. Can you just like drive it from your house to Walmart?
I would think, right?
I've
I don't
never
think
seen
anybody
anyone do
does.
it.
Yeah, nobody does.
I
But
probably wouldn't do it. There's a lot of traffic there.
Yeah.
For that.
yeah, the only specifications for here are it has to be insured, and you obviously have to be a licensed driver.
Yeah.
And you have to have your little slow-moving triangle in the
Sticker
back.
on the back.
That's
And
it.
then you just putt around.
And then yeah, you can go
That's cool.
wherever. Because it used to be the town laws used to be that you could only go from your house to the golf course and back.
Right.
Right. It had to be like the direct route. So
Okay.
almost like having a gun license. You can only go to the range and back. It was the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not that anybody ever paid attention to it, but that was the law. And, but now, yeah, you're free to go around. You don't have to be going golfing or anything. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great, you know. It saves a little bit of gas and stuff. And like for
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
right? It's dirt cheap. And it's nice. It's quick. It's easy. You're only going 3-4 blocks. So,
Yeah. Why not?
the golf cart's the way to go, right? I love it.
Turn into an ad for golf carts.
It is. Well, you just
Great.
never know. Maybe we're gonna start up with golf carts.
Maybe.
Maybe somebody can sell golf carts.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
We should start that up. Tom.
We can have it right out front here. You park them all along the
Good
front.
idea. Yeah.
Right? Frontier trading post and golf carts.
We can rent them. We can sell them. Whatever
Yeah.
people need.
Rentals would be good.
Basically, what we have to do here. Whatever people need. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You know, it all goes back to progressing stuff. You have to be willing
Yeah.
to progress no matter how it goes, right?
Yeah.
You have to be willing to
Yeah.
to really identify with what people need and what you need.
Yeah.
And work with that, right? And grow.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, right?
And when
It's
you
a
are
tricky
living a progressive lifestyle and kind of moving into the spiritual direction, I don't know if you would agree with this, but don't you find that you have the more of a desire to kind of live a different type of lifestyle where you're pursuing the things you actually are passionate and care about, and you just really
Yes.
want to like
Yeah.
kind of run towards that? Because I know you're like that with your writing, and Melissa, your wife, is she's quite an artist, so she does a lot with that now.
Yeah.
And also baking, like, whereas, you know, when you're working a job, whether it's, I know she used to work at a bank and just some different things like that, and you just don't have the time to pursue those passions.
No,
And
you
when
don't.
you're living in a place like this and you're kind of following this kind of a lifestyle, you just really want to be all
Yeah.
in on those things. Because I know I was like that. It just kind of felt, once I started, of course not following that program, but just kind of living more of a spiritual life,
Yeah.
I found working like a 9 to 5 in an office very draining.
It is, and that's the exact word I was going to say. It is very draining. It's spiritually draining, and you don't like it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and that's why I said this year has been a hard year, but it's been a way better year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Emotionally and spiritually, it's been a way better year for me than it has been for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Even though the past 10 years, obviously I could afford to do a lot more, right? You're working all the time, you're chasing the money. Yeah, I always had money coming in. Now it's different, right? And it was kind of peculiar, I guess, because even when I was working, making decent money, driving truck and stuff, money was always an issue, right? You're always thinking about it. It seemed like every week, payday and stuff, you're still always thinking about it. You're still running out almost, right?
Yeah.
Even though you
can
knew you
relate to
always
that.
had lots coming in
Yep.
eventually. And now we had no money coming in, but I'm not stressed about it.
Well, we
Which
won't
is-
say no money. We don't need you to
Well, very
send
little.
Tom money.
Oh yeah. We set up a GoFundMe. GoFundMe, progress is hard.
It's real hard.
Coffee is easy, but it's not cheap. Resistance coffee is delicious, but it's not cheap for me.
It's true. It's not cheap enough.
That's why I have to come here after hours when I get it for free.
It's true. It's true.
But again, like, you don't get stressed, right? I'm not as stressed about money. And same with Melissa. Melissa's always worried about money. She's always horrible with that. And she's not as stressed about it now, even though we don't have it coming in the way that we used to. So, that says something for you. That says that, the spirituality is the way to go, because you're gaining peace, even when, on paper, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it's all about. It's all about, especially as we get older, I want that peace, right? And I talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's all about being happy and being content with your life. And like you said, it's what it is here, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing the things that you want to do.
Right. Whether it's gardening or painting or whatever you're passionate about, because you have time.
Exactly, right?
And that's the thing. All there is time. And I know I had a really hard, as much as I didn't like, living paycheck to paycheck and working in an office and all the busyness of the city, there's things that I thought were, my identity. And it's like, well, I go to, this fitness class on this day. And that was like how I lived. And even still, it's an adjustment because you have so much free time living in a place like this. And it's like, you actually get to spend time knowing who you actually are.
Yes.
And you
learning
have
who
time
you are.
to like go deep, and it's so quiet and it's so peaceful that there's no outside distractions, because sometimes there's nothing but you.
Exactly.
And you learn who you are. Like the other night I tried pickling beets. I've never even cooked a beet, but there's a whole video. It's a whole thing.
I watched it.
Because I don't know what I'm doing, and I have these expectations that I'm gonna be able to know how to do certain things, and sometimes it takes us to take a step back from the busyness of life to be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna see if this is my thing, and be able to try different activities. Like gardening, I was like, I really want to be a gardener, and I'm not very good at it, but maybe we'll get there.
But you try
maybe
it.
we won't.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
it's fun. Yeah, we're only just starting to get some stuff this year in the garden. So, but again, you're constantly progressing, right? You're learning new things. You're learning how to beat, right?
Yeah.
You're learning how to garden. You're learning how to do all these things, which is just constantly growing yourself as a person, and you're finding out who you are as a person, and that's constant progression. Even though you're not thinking, this is what I'm going to do because I need to progress. If you look back and you can see that you are progressing. And that's why I said, with all the little decisions, you might not have to think about them too much, like you're saying, and overthink them, but you can look back on them and say, hey, you know what? We did this, right? We grew here, we progressed here.
Right.
It's the same thing. Now you're going to look back and say, now I can pickle beets. I'm a pickle beet master or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a beet boy.
Yeah, it's I think
But we're growing, right? We're all growing, and it's subtle, and it's very simple, and it's nice, and that's a great thing, and that's what the small towns and on the trail have to offer, right? Is all these little things that you become a better person, right? It's fantastic. It's so much easier of a life, even though it's might be physically harder, right, and financially harder, but it's easier on your soul. It's easier on your mind. Easier on your brain and stuff, and that in turn makes it easier on you physically, because you're in a better spot, right? We all know that if you're in a stressful situation all the time in life, physically you're not going to be in good shape, right? You're going to get sick, right? Your body isn't made for that. So
Right.
when we have this opportunity to slow down and calm down, we're much better physically, right?
Well, and stress and anxiety are rooted in kind of
Oh
just
yeah,
living that lifestyle, that busyness, that's what it was for me
Yeah.
anyways. It was just like so much and so much pressure and working these high pressure sales jobs, and you're chasing after money that doesn't really get you anywhere. That's
No,
the thing,
no.
right?
You spend
So
more.
then you take a step back, you remove that mask, and you start unlearning
Yes.
who you're not meant to be.
Yeah.
And figuring out who
And
you
trying to figure
actually
out
are.
who you actually are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody in these big, the 15-minute prisons there, they just live and they run off anxiety and stress,
Yeah.
right? And it's horrible, and that's why everybody's so heavily medicated in these
Right.
places. That's
Yeah.
why they have to have a hospital within 15 minutes, right? They have to have a pharmacy within 15 minutes because everybody needs
They're
it.
unwell.
Everybody's
Yeah.
on so many medications. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
I'm on coffee. Coffee's a good medication. That's it.
Maybe you shouldn't be drinking it this late, but that's up to you.
That's it.
Up to you.
Well, you
Yeah.
gotta have something.
That's true. That's true. So, what's next? Like, you've re-released these books.
Yes.
You recently, was it last month?
Yeah.
What's that book called again? Just
Stepping Up.
Stepping Up.
Yeah. It's a
Okay.
guide to step
So
parenting.
that's on Amazon.
That's on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's next? I don't know. I'll definitely do another book.
Mhm.
What it's going to be, I'm not sure. It's probably going to be focused on like purpose, finding purpose and stuff.
Yeah.
I think is where it's gonna go. It started, so we'll see where it ends up.
Mhm.
It's like anything I do. I don't know where it's going to end up. I just start and I just hope for the best.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I put it in God's hands and say, figure it out. I do it with everything. I do it with ministry. I do it with, when I preach or give messages, or I do it when I write all the time. I have no idea what I'm writing when I start writing. Right? The same, whether I was putting together a sermon or whether I'm putting together a book or whatever, or a program, it's always the same. I start out, I'll meditate and pray for an hour, and then I just start writing. And then I look back at it afterwards and figure out what I actually wrote. Because sometimes I have no real idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll amaze myself. I'll read it and say, "Wow, where'd that come
really
from?"
in the flow. Yeah, I guess
So
that.
I don't think like that.
So how has it been getting back into doing the ministry stuff after being kind of away from it for a bit? Because if I'm correct, the last time you
Was
were
back
doing
in Nova
ministry was in
Scotia.
Nova Scotia. So
Yes.
then there was a gap when
That
you were
big
working
gap, yeah.
in Grand Prairie
Yeah.
and then kind of coming here
Yeah,
where
when
there's no
everything
church
changed.
in town.
No, there was nothing.
Okay.
And I didn't like the big mega churches in
In the
Grand
cities,
Prairie and
yeah.
stuff. So we were really away from the church for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, at that time, that's where I was driving truck and stuff too. So everything was changing.
Mm.
And getting back into it now is nice because it's a new adventure again, because now I'm so much different than I was 25 years ago when I was preaching, right? That was a whole different ball game. It was a nice little church we had there. We had like 35, 40 people, right? So it's just that
And that was
nice
in the
size.
valley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in Woodville and in Grafton and that. So that was really nice. I really enjoyed that size and that atmosphere.
What type of a church was it?
It was a Baptist.
Okay.
Baptist church. So, but it wasn't like the fundamental crazy Baptist. It was just the normal Baptist.
The normal Baptist.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people commenting on
What's
this.
wrong with
Sorry.
fundamental crazy
I was just
Baptists?
gonna say, I'm pretty sure that's what I comes from, is the fundamental Baptist.
Yeah, that explains it.
I wasn't. Anyways, we won't get into that.
I like them.
There's people that. Yeah. Anyways, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's just a different approach. That's the whole thing. It's there's so many different types of Christians.
Yes.
It's hard to say like this group is right and this group is wrong. It's just different. That's all, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences, and a lot of it is not good, right? Obviously, but a lot of it's still okay. And again, for me, it's nice. I'm a different person now, so I look at things different. I'll give messages different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a little more, I don't want to say thorough, but when I used to put together my sermons, every word was thought out and written down
Yeah.
and stuff. And I found I can't do that.
Right.
now, right? It just didn't work, right? I tried that. I was like, that just doesn't feel right at all. So now it's just, I'll give myself a few points and just talk because I'm good at talking, right?
And
like
it's
I said,
relatable.
like I start and like I said, I put it all in God's hands. I don't always know what I'm going to say, right? I don't know what I was going to say here, right? First podcast I've ever done. So far, it's going good,
Fine, I
right?
think.
My coffee's empty, but other than that, it's good.
Yeah. Be nice
It's
if
all
somebody would refill it.
No, it's good. I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the ministry has been great to come back to, right?
Yeah.
Again, it feels a lot better,
Yeah.
right? It does me good to get back to who I was, and not just who I was, but you know. Thanks.
Well, and it's really interesting because I notice with your messages, you don't just stick to
No.
the basics, the gospel, or even necessarily the books of the Bible.
No,
Which
I
is
don't.
interesting.
Yeah, I because again, I'm not who I used to be as well, right?
Yes.
I've grown, and I think I've matured more in the spirituality part and really understanding more of Jesus and stuff too.
Yeah.
And knowing that, you can find Jesus, he's in the Bible, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But then again, there's other ways of thinking too, like with the Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene and all these things that people don't like. But there's a lot of truth in those too, right? And there's still truth, and you can still find God in even science today and stuff too, and especially nowadays. Now that we're getting more into all the quantum mechanics and quantum physics and stuff, it's all coming back, and they're realizing that God is in there, right? It's undeniable now, right? So it's great because I like to talk about that stuff too, right?
Right.
So even though, like, honestly, I'm no quantum mechanic or anything,
No.
quantum physicist, but it fascinates me that it all comes back still to prove that God is everywhere, right? And I like that, so I like to talk about that too. Right. And even modern day psychology and stuff, some of it now comes back to God and comes back to spirituality, right? For a long time that was kind of kiboshed, right? They didn't like that. There was same with science. It was like, oh, can't have God in there, right?
Right.
But now it's coming
kind of
around.
An either or.
Yeah.
It was for a long time.
Yeah, even though originally it was all the priests that were scientists, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
they got pushed out. It's like, oh, now we can't have God in science, and now science is realizing that, hey, God is in science, right? Regardless, right? That's where it is. So
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. Like I said, I'll talk about all kinds of stuff, but it all still relates to God. I can find God in pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're one of the few pastors that I find is really open to those kind of things and open to even speaking about other spiritual systems and working that into your sermons, which is really cool. That's something that's
because it's all relatable,
right?
Like you said, like when we talk about like the old Egyptian stuff and that, right? It all comes back to
right.
It all comes back
that
to
makes
God.
people uncomfortable.
It does. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't mind making people uncomfortable
Right.
because if you're uncomfortable, then you're thinking. If you're thinking, you're going to progress.
Right.
Regardless. So if I have to make people uncomfortable, so be it. Right. I got big shoulders. I can take it. I've had a lot of people hound on me too. Don't get me wrong.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Over that stuff?
Yeah, over some preaching and stuff. People,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Especially
is it
some of
because
the
of
old
using?
elders.
Yeah. Is it because of talking about things like the Egyptians, or is it more the forbidden gospels?
The forbidden gospels, even
Okay.
though you're saying the exact same thing, right?
Well, the Book of Thomas is basically it could be in the Bible. I mean,
it should have been, right? There's no reason it shouldn't have
It's
been.
very similar to some of the the other
For sure,
gospels.
and that's when I use that, I usually do it in a way that really promotes the Bible too. It says, look, this is what it says in the Bible. It says the exact same thing here.
Right.
So obviously these go together, and there's still resistance. People still just say, oh no,
Because
you
it's
can't
not-
have that because
yeah.
we're elders and that's not the way we like to hear it.
Yeah. So why do you think those books were originally not accepted?
Just because, although 90% of them is the same
Yeah.
as what's presented in the Bible, but then there's that 10% that maybe go a little bit further, and people don't like to hear that, right?
Mhm.
You know, because the Bible was put together for a certain reason,
Yeah.
right? It had an agenda, right? It really did. Constantine had an agenda when he put it all together, and some things just didn't fit that agenda.
Yeah.
So
you think it has been manipulated to,
yeah,
in a sense?
yeah, in a sense. I don't think a whole lot has been like cut per se. I'm sure some of it has. You can't have something that's men touch that's not going to get
Right.
manipulated. You're just not,
Yeah.
right? You know, and I know I've had arguments with a lot of pastors about stuff, and it's always, oh no, it's the infallible word of God and stuff. And
Mhm.
my thoughts on that is, I'm sure it was 100% divinely given to people to write,
Mhm.
right? I think the original writings
Yep.
were 100% divinely inspired,
Mhm.
right? That's my thing. But does that mean that they stayed that way? Probably not, right? If somebody can find a way to manipulate anything to gain power,
Mhm.
it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It really will. And I think that's why some of those other gospels and that just didn't make it. There was just little tweaky things in there that they didn't like to hear, so didn't go good with them.
And how do you feel about the Book of Enoch? Because there's a lot in Genesis, so it's interesting how there's things in Genesis, and then when you go through the Book of Enoch, it just gives more detail.
Yes.
And that's, so why
Like
do you
with
think
the Nephilim and all that,
with the
right?
Nephilim and all that type of thing, the four corners of the earth and all
Mhm.
that, why do you think that one in particular is so taboo in Christianity? Because I mean, the Gospels of Thomas, they are, and there's different books that are, but that one seems to be the one that a
Yeah.
lot of, you know, pastors and spiritual leaders will be like, stay away from that.
Yeah.
And like, why do you think that is?
I think it's because it's probably too close to truth that people want to hear. People don't like to hear solid truth.
So you think it's
Right.
more than a lot of people can handle?
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of
Okay.
people are afraid of it because it changes things. It changes your view on things.
It does. Yeah.
Right? It doesn't change God in general, but it does change your view on things. It has to. Right?
Mhm.
And I think this is something that it's been bugging me for a while. I think that people really pigeonhole God way too much now, right? And they try and keep him in this little space and say, "This is God. This is it. That's it. Anything
God
outside
box.
of here, yeah, anything outside
Yeah.
of that, they don't like." They're like, "Oh no, that's not it,
Yeah.
right? That's not in the Bible. That's can't be God." But in the Bible, does it not say that God can do anything and everything?
Right.
Well, that's a big old box,
Yeah.
right? So just because we don't understand something, like maybe we don't
Mhm.
understand all the stuff in Enoch and that, doesn't mean that it doesn't all fit, right?
Right.
It just means we don't comprehend maybe how it fits, right? I
Mhm.
think there's so much more that we need to learn, right? And I think a lot of it is coming out. I think we are trying to learn a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
And that's why everything religiously seems to be like all over the place, right? Because there's more and more coming out. People are seeing things different, but I still don't think that everybody's seen the whole picture. And
No.
the whole picture being that it still all comes back to Jesus. It really does.
Yeah.
Even though we might not see it, right? Because the, people say, "Oh well, it's all the aliens and all that," and maybe they're there. I don't know. I believe, but
Mhm.
I'm sure it still comes back to Jesus. It's still there, right? The
Yeah.
core is still there. We just don't understand how all this other stuff works.
Yeah.
And people don't like that.
No.
People like to think that they know everything, and you don't, right?
And I think there is a massive spiritual collective that is awakening right now.
Absolutely.
Like you can feel it, you can see it. It's just, it's everywhere. And I think that, there's a lot of people that just, they don't know what it is. And that's why there's so many different angles. And we're looking at, aliens and
It
looking
is.
at a lot of the New Age movement. And it's not to say that those, that is wrong. There's elements of truth, I think, and there's grains of truth.
Exactly. Yeah. And
in
that's what I
everything.
think, right? I think
Yeah.
we just need to understand it more.
Yeah.
I think we don't have a complete understanding.
Now, one of the things that I often hear, especially in the New Age movement, is it's almost like it's taken out of context with the Holy Spirit being within.
Yeah.
And it's that you have like almost like a you are God thing rather than God is within you.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with kind of that
Yeah, and
idea?
like I said, you know, I know, I believe that God is within everybody.
Yes.
Right? I talked about that.
Yeah.
And it is very easy to kind of cross that line, like you're saying,
Yeah.
where people think, oh, well, if God's in me, then I am God. Well, I don't think that's really the case.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If you were, you would probably make better life choices.
Frankly, you wouldn't need to buy this book and read it.
But, you know, and that's where things kind of get sketchy, and
yeah.
you know, it's that gray area that can cause a lot of problems. So we can think, you know, we can understand and know that God works within us, but we have to keep it centered, right? Keep it Christ centered, right? Even though, yes, I do believe in, you know, the power of manifesting and all these things with the universe and all that, but it still comes back to God. It still comes back to God.
So with the manifesting, this is interesting that you brought this up.
I don't know where it came from.
Is that good or evil?
I think if you do it through Christ, it's good. How can they not be, right? God wants to give us good things. Did God not say he knows how to give his child good things?
Yeah.
Right? So what's wrong with asking for them? I think it's a matter of how you do it, right?
Okay.
Obviously, you can do it evilly too, right? You know, the devil can give you just as much stuff.
Right.
Except for, you know, freedom of soul.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you are still Christ-based, you can manifest and say, hey, you know, this is what I want, right? God wants to give you good things, right? I'm not against that. You know, I'm against those preachers that only preach that and say, oh yeah, you know, you deserve to be rich, you deserve that. Well, maybe you don't, right? Maybe you made some bad life choices and you just don't deserve that. And you have to understand that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that's why I'm not a millionaire yet. But hopefully, Jesus will give me some money, help me out, right? If I keep him in mind and say, hey, you know, this is what I would like. This is what I'm working towards, right?
Yeah.
And as long as I give myself to you, I know you're going to take care of me, right? And I know he always has. And it's always, you know, it always seemed to be last minute, right, for most of my life. But, you know, so was my religion at times, right? Like, before I ever came to God, everything was last minute, right? It's like, when do you talk to God? Oh, God, I need you, like, right now.
Right.
And that's, you know, that doesn't work, right? So once you talk to him all the time, then you can still build that relationship and, you know, you become stronger in him. And then you can ask for the things that you want, if you have the right reason for them, right?
Yeah.
And not being greedy and stuff like that, but saying, hey, you know, I could use this so that I can bless this community and that. So,
right. It's where your heart posture is.
Absolutely, right? Everything boils down to where your heart is, right?
Yeah.
Where's your motivation, right? It's either going to be good or bad. So, if it's good, things will work out. If it's bad, I just find they don't.
Yeah.
They just
there
don't.
you go.
So,
it's as simple as that.
It is. Yeah. It seems
it's simple,
to be.
but it's complex. That's just.
It is. And that's just like life, though. Life is like that. Life is very simple, but it's very complex too.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of unknowns, and you know, there's a lot of speculation of what goes on, and then you throw the whole government part into it, where they just destroy anything that you can think is good. So, you know, what do we do? That's life, right? Pray, stay on the trail.
Stay on the trail. Yep. So tomorrow you'll be speaking
I will.
again here.
I will. I'll be back.
Okay.
I have three notes. So
3 notes.
Yeah, we should be good.
That's good.
We should be good for 20 minutes or so.
Hope you can just ramble on those 3 notes, because that's, yeah. Well, I guess you'll say. I guess if it's 3 notes, then that's what people need to hear. Whoever's gonna show up. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, is there a topic for your next?
My next 3 notes.
Your next 3 notes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
random.
It's gonna be about not doing the things that we want to do, and doing the things that we don't want to do.
Oh.
In life.
Oh, that's good.
Right. So yeah.
So it's like yeah.
So yeah.
That's interesting that came up, because that came up for me the other day.
Perfect.
Kind of thinking about that quite a lot.
See?
Romans 7.
sermon's always right there.
I know.
Right? They're synced.
Yeah. Doing the things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I just.
There's a lot of that. Right? There's a lot of that in town.
Yeah.
People doing things that we don't want to do.
And that's what I think makes the Bible so relatable, is that, clearly you read Paul, and you read through some of the stuff he wrote, and it's like he struggled with things just like we struggle with things, right? Like, clearly when you read Romans 7, like, he had some stuff going on. He
Absolutely.
had some guilt, and some guilt and shame about something, and it's like that's something that it's
we all
relatable.
have. Yeah, we all have.
So
right?
if you read the Bible through those lenses of, like, they're just real people.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about the disciples, right? They're all just real people.
Yeah.
Right? It's just everyday mess ups, right? Like myself and that, and find a way to make them good.
Try again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's always a mulligan, always a redo.
There you go.
I've needed to pull in a lot of mulligans over the years. So.
Well, thanks so much for having
Thank
a
you.
chat with me tonight.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
again,
for having me. It's
we've
fantastic.
got these super cool mugs that
They are cool.
has his coffee in
design.
tonight. It's cool design, yellow inside. They're pretty nifty.
Yeah.
They're here at the Trading Post. And do you have a website?
Nope.
You don't know what
I do not.
So how would I buy this mug if I wasn't going to come to
Well, you
Tompkins?
come here.
Even if I live in, I don't know, Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Just make the trek.
Sure.
Why are you
can
still living in
email.
Newfoundland?
Yeah.
Get on the trail.
Get on
Get
the
on
trail.
the trail
Yeah.
and get here is
Yeah.
basically
Just
it.
email. We'll
Yeah.
get them out to you. That's
There
not
you
a
go.
problem.
All right. Tom's books also available here, also available on Amazon, and maybe we can share your info if there's anybody that
Absolutely.
kind of is interested in the books and maybe doing some one-on-one coaching with Tom.
Absolutely.
Probably the best guy to take you through the books is the guy that wrote them.
Yeah, my
So-
email is in each of the books
Oh, your
too.
email's in there. Okay, so yeah, you could
So yeah, if you buy the book, you have the email.
Tom and set up some sessions
It's a bonus.
and get on the right trail. All right.
Perfect. Thank you very
so
much.
yeah, thank you so much.